When it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh products we all know of, structure decks and booster packs come to mind. Both give the player a way to start playing the game, as well as adding new cards to the repertoire. But there was a third way to access cards in a sort of middle ground where you're given a bunch of packs to really give your deck the adrenaline rush you need. These were the collectible tins. The metal boxes have been out for quite some time and are still released to this day. It really shows how important they are to the blood flow of the game, as we'll dive into throughout this video. Starting in 2002, there were 6 premier collectible tins released on October 4th. There were 2 for each of the big characters from the anime, Yugi, Kaiba, and Joey. The tins featured a monster card that would ensure you the card inside the tin. So if you wanted a Blue Eyes Summon Skull or a Bee Skull Dragon, then these were surefire ways to obtain them. Then there's the Lord of D tin, which is an odd choice given how lackluster he is compared to the other powerful cards. They could have had a La Jin, since the only release around that time was a common, or hell, I'd even settle for a Hollow Hitatsu Mi Giant. We already had a Hollow Lord of D. I suppose he was decided upon as a memorable Kaiba themed effect monster that wasn't a pushover like Maneater Bug or Trap Master, but I digress. At least all of these cards were in secret rarity, which was a nice rarity bump no matter how you look at it. Blue Eyes and Beast Skull were only ultra rares in their cover sets, Legend of Blue Eyes and Metal Raiders respectively. Aside from that one promotional card you get, the tins were filled with booster packs. Containing 5 packs, this was a good boost to your collection. Inside there would be 2 Legend of Blue Eyes packs,
with the addition of 2, count 'em, 2 marshmallows.
2 Metal Raiders packs, and 1 Magic Ruler pack. Remember, this was before Pharaoh's Servant's release, which was released later that month.
What?
So this was like a last hurrah before Jinzo came out and swept the competitive scene. Get your classic cards now. It was a good mix of packs. LOB had its normal monsters, MRD had its effect monsters and other general improvement cards, and MRL had very powerful magic cards to give your deck that needed edge. This is all considered when moving into PSV with its powerful incoming lineup of trap cards.
It's a trap!
Tins would remain a staple in Yu-Gi-Oh! As the following year, the game received 6 more tins to collect. Released on September 1st, it kept with the tradition of 2 per main duelist. Yugi with Dark Magician, again, and Buster Blader, Kaiba with Blue Eyes, again, and XYZ Dragon Cannon, and Joey with Jinzo and Gearfree the Iron Knight. Including Jinzo in this tin made that one specifically a popular tin to get, seeing as he was still a very powerful card by this point. This was also 1 month before the release of Magician's Force, meaning you could obtain XYZ Dragon Cannon in a higher rarity before his official booster pack release. So the Jinzo tin wasn't the only tin of notability. The packs in this were 1 of each: LOB, MRD, MRL, PSV, and LON. Unfortunately, that meant no reprints of Legacy of Darkness or Pharaonic Guardian, which included great cards like Yatagarasu and Metamorphosis. At the same time, given there was only 1 pack each, there was a lesser chance of pulling, say, Mirror Force or Gemini Elf. I don't think anyone thought about this, but I'd figure I'd mention it as a detriment to players looking to get a bunch of older packs in hopes of pulling that one sought after card. But most people looking to obtain a tin was most likely aiming for that Jinzo, or just happy to get a bunch of packs in 1 box that also doubled as card storage. I'm also a bit surprised there wasn't a Pegasus tin, given he had his starter deck released earlier that year alongside the Joey deck.
Sounds like someone needs a hug.
A secret rare toon monster like Blue Eyes or Summon Skull would have been preferred over Gearfried in my opinion. Heading to 2004, the tins were not stopping as we got 6 more yet again. However, this time it did not feature the series characters on it and was more focused on the premier cards. These 6 monster cards are all unique, as this was their first release in the TCG. No Blue Eyes reprints or questionable Lord of D release here. As their first release, we have Insect Queen, Command Knight, Swift Gaia the Fierce Knight, Total Defense Shogun, Obnoxious Celtic Guardian, and Blade Knight. That last card, Blade Knight, will become a very powerful tool in warrior decks throughout retro Yu-Gi-Oh! He gains 400 attack while you have one or less cards in your hand, plus if you control no other monsters, he negates the effects of flip monsters he destroys. It's a card that has double usage and can become quite scary because so. Total Defense Shogun is interesting as being the first monster that can attack while in defense mode, the mold for super heavy samurais many years later. Command Knight is not half bad, given his warrior typing, high defense, and fair support effect for warrior attack increase and attack protection. Swift Gaia and Bamboozle Celtic, or is it Celtic? I don't know.
I summon the bamboozled Celtic Guardian.
They're neat due to them being retrains of Yugi's older vanilla monsters. And not to leave her out, Insect Queen is, well, here.
I'll damn you good, you filthy bug!
Of course, these packs, these tins included, were late 2003 and early 2004 packs. Pharaonic Guardian, Magician's Force, Dark Crisis, Invasion of Chaos, and Ancient Sanctuary, all one of each. By this point, these tins provided much more value compared to the 2002 tins that had 2 LOB packs, which typically contained not great cards even by late 2002 standards. Ray and Temperature much? Sure, there was Monster Reborn and Raigeki, but I'd rather have the 2004 tins with packs that could potentially give me Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning, Tribe Infecting Virus, Breaker the Magical Warrior, Chaos Emperor Dragon Envoy of the End, among many other great cards from these sets, a higher ratio for deck improvement. Although if you're in the UK, you'd still get LOB as many European tins include a chunk of older sets given their different release schedule.
Or so the Germans would have us believe.
For example, the UK tins would instead offer LOB, MRD, MRL, IOC, and AST, 3 of 5 being from 2002 United States TCG. Then after 2004 comes, you guessed it, 2005. These tins are rather intriguing. First off, of the 5 packs included, 2 of them are reprint sets in Dark Beginning and Dark Revelation, which I've talked about in further detail. This set the rule, or at least broke the common method, that it didn't need to be core sets in these tins, that they could be other avenues of card releases. Tins later on would have their own sets in them, filled with notable reprints of expensive cards, or cards that just needed a good old reprint for time's sake, or text adjusting. Secondly, many cards in these tins you would have thought would have already been in the TCG given the anime popularity. Cards like Panther Warrior and Rocket Warrior were not in GOAT format. That golden age of Yu-Gi-Oh! Ended right before these tins and the orbiting set Cybernetic Revolution. Panther Warrior in particular would have made for some really fun scapegoat synergy in GOAT. Vorse Raider was a weird choice because he's a 1900 attack vanilla. We already had cards like Berserk Gorilla, Skilled Dark Magician, and hell, even Gemini Elf had years on her resume. Having a plain Jane monster here just felt like a weird addition, but I suppose Upper Deck just wanted to release the guy somewhere or somehow, and didn't have anywhere else to place him in. Guilford the Lightning is the boss monster of the tins, and the Dark Magician Girl alternate art is cool, but Exarion Universe was clearly the big card out of all these tins. I've already gone into detail on the, well, passion, for a lack of a better term, that Exarion caused for retro players in my GOAT format video. But the card by itself is a great counter to Scapegoat, as well as having good stats as is. And in this tin, he could be yours. Collectible tins would continue every single year, and obviously I'm not going to cover them all. The 2006 tins would go full on in the GX era with tins featuring Cyber Dragon and the Sacred Beast, plus others. In 2014, the tins would be rebranded as Mega Tins, with the 2016 release going back to a Yugi and Kaiba theme. 2019 would start the trend of the gold sarcophagus tins, where even up to 2021, the tins resembled a more Egyptian theme than ever before, which I am certainly not complaining about. To reiterate, the 2 big aspects of cards people tend to consider for Yu-Gi-Oh! Releases are sets and decks, but the collectible tins have been around for just as long and just as consistent as both of those products. Not only do they facilitate new releases, but they also include re-releases of cards that newer players or veterans can get their hands on. This approach is similar to the tournament and reprint packs, just with the addition of that historical flair and a metal tin for storage to boot. Tins are a huge part of Yu-Gi-Oh's history and definitely a topic I should have discussed sooner than later, but given on how much there is to talk about with retro Yu-Gi-Oh!, I think I'll be finding new topics all the time with an aha, why didn't I cover this sooner? As I bang my head on the wall trying to make talking about metal boxes filled with cardboard sound exciting, or at the very least historically rich, as I feel like they are. But what about you? Did you ever pick up any of these old school tins? Let me know which ones you did if you did. Until then, I will see you all next time for whatever historical entry is next, because I certainly do not know myself.